So in 1979, my grandfather decided to leave his home in Syria and start a new life in the U.S. His plan was that he would come to California first, and then my grandmother would follow along with her 7 children. So they had reservations for American Airlines Flight 191, and that included a stop in New York, then a connection in Chicago, before finally arriving in California. So they landed in New York first, and that's where all immigrants first had to apply for a green card before their next destination. At the time, my Aunt Hela had recently put on the hijab. So when it was time for her photo and the immigration officers asked her to remove her hijab, she said no. They kept informing her that she would not be able to move to America or go on to their next flight until she took this photo. But she was really steadfast and insisted on her rights. By now, obviously, my grandmother became impatient. She flew halfway across the globe, and they had spent close to all their life savings on these tickets. So she didn't want to miss the next flight out to California. She pleaded with her and told her, just remove it and do what the immigration officers tell you to do. But my aunt kept refusing, and they eventually called her into the back where she said, "It doesn't matter how many people you call in, I'm not going to remove my hijab for this photo." After the officers called their supervisors and 3 brutal hours later, they finally released my aunt, and she was actually allowed to keep her hijab on for the photo. But by then, it was too late. The entire family had missed their connecting flight, and so they had to purchase new plane tickets and stay overnight in New York. Obviously, my grandmother was so furious and upset, and she lectured my aunt the entire flight to California. When they finally arrived at LA International Airport, my grandfather greeted them with the biggest hug, and he was in tears. He kept repeating, "Alhamdulillah, you're alive. Alhamdulillah, you're alive." And they were like, "Yeah, why wouldn't we be?" He said, "The original flight you were supposed to get on crashed, and all 271 passengers died." Flight 191 had crashed due to loss of control caused by engine detachment due to improper maintenance. In addition to the 271 people on board the aircraft, 2 employees at a nearby repair garage were killed, and 2 more were severely burned. 40 years later, the crash of Flight 191 remains the deadliest passenger airline accident on U.S. soil. So they were all in shock and overwhelmed. Everyone was brought to tears. This is my aunt's passport photo. This photo is a symbol of my aunt's bravery and love for her hijab that saved my family's life. We would never have started the first generation in America if it wasn't for her sticking up for what she believes in. This story is an important reminder for me that everything in life is written. One should always be principled and stick to their beliefs no matter the situation you're put in. Allah was testing her belief, and if what you believe in is right, then Allah Almighty will never forget about you. Stories like this make me fall in love with the hijab all over again. Her hijab saved her life, and in turn my family's life. It's a reminder that your hijab is like a relationship. You have to always remind yourself of the strength and nourish it to keep the love for it alive. If you forget its importance, then you'll forget yourself. So, with all the Islamophobia going around, I just wanted to remind people of the importance of staying strong in your deen, no matter what anyone says or thinks.